Alright, today we'll be covering lesson 1-2 in our Algebra 1 book. It's on writing expressions. On the previous two slides, you saw a little bit about Missing and his family, and they were noticing artifacts, and Missing happened to notice the patterns that were on these pottery and baskets that he came across. And they showed you the particular pattern as such. We are going to chunk this part of our lesson for lesson 1-2. We're going to do questions 1 through 4. 1 through 4. The first question it asks us to do is to draw the next two figures of this pattern. So again, we would kind of take this concept and see what's happening each time, and then we need to see how to draw figure 4 and figure 5. After you do that, it's going to ask you to create a table using the relationship between what you saw to determine how many squares were in each. Number 3 is going to ask us to use the variable n to represent the figure number and to write an expression to determine the number of small squares in any figure. Then you are going to use that expression to determine the number of small squares in the 12th figure. In this part of our lesson, I want you to take the next 10 minutes, talk it over with your table mates, and see if you can answer questions 1 through 4. Again, go ahead and pause your video, answers questions 1 through 4. All right, here are the answers for questions 1 through 4 have now been provided for us. I went and attempted to draw figure 4 and figure 5. If you're not an artist, it's okay. And then I noticed that whenever I counted the boxes continued to change by a certain number. And the number that you should have identified as the difference between each one was the number 4. This increased by 4, increased by 4, increased by 4, and so on. That's going to come into play over here in the next question, question 3. Question 3 asked us to identify to write the expression. So let's talk about where these numbers came from. If you recall, our first figure started out with 12 boxes. And we know that it increased by 4 each time. Well, but we don't start with figure 0. We start with figure 1. So we have to do this n minus 1 in order to accommodate for that. And if you would have gone back and checked your answers and plugged in maybe 3 into the expression, you would have noticed that if you did not include this minus 1, you wouldn't have gotten 20. Last thing I did was I plug in 12 for the expression that I came up with in step 3. And then I work it out, and I come up with that if we did this out to the 12th figure, now we've only done 5 up to this point. So if we were to continue this all the way out to the 12th figure, it should have had 56 separate boxes. On to your debriefing.